came here for, of course, a few reasons. One was to meet with many beautiful people from all over the world and listen to their messages and wisdoms and hopes and dreams and intentions and solutions for the future. And the other main reason why I came to France and Paris at this time was to support the people of the Embera-Wunan nation from what you might know as Panama, or the eastern half of Panama. And these are the indigenous peoples of that area who've lived in those lands for many thousands of years and still do. So the work that I am doing in Panama with the Embera-Wunan people and Cunayala people and Nobebule people is actually an extension of work that I have been doing for the last 3 years with the Coast Salish people in the Pacific Northwest in the Salish Sea bioregion, which is to reorganize our sense of community consciousness around our bioregional watershed and to all agree on one perhaps revolutionary new principle that might be sufficient to inspire and cause a paradigm shift in consciousness, followed by a paradigm shift in the way the world around us looks, more in the direction of perhaps restoring something resembling a Kalani Hanua in Hawaiian, a heaven on earth. So in this core agreement that is really at the center of this whole bioregional marine sanctuary movement is very simple and very clear, and is this: to restore natural animal populations throughout our bioregion to more than 50% of historic levels as soon as possible. And one of the reasons why this is important is if you do the research and you do the mathematics, you will see that for the last 400,000 years of human history, the natural free-living animals, let's say land mammals and birds of the world, constituted about 98% of the biomass on and above the land, and about 2% was humans, cows, pigs, chickens, and dogs, and cats. But in just the last 1,000 years, not even the last most recent 1% of human history, that relationship has actually completely reversed. And now it's about 98% humans, cows, pigs, chickens, dogs, and cats, and about 2% free-living, natural land mammals and birds. So this obviously is not really a ethical or even good or enjoyable situation in many ways. So we believe that the time has come for human beings on Earth to reorganize their consciousness around their bioregional watershed communities. This is a new framework through which a bioregional community can take all of the things that they do not want in their community and make a list of them and really make it so that none of them are any longer allowed to be in their bioregional watershed. So for example, in our community, we have included in that list things like fracking, genetically modified organisms, neonicotinoids, the chemicals that have been wiping out all the monarch butterflies and bees all over the world. We don't want these in our bioregional watershed community, and we believe we should have the right to say no. And sometimes the federal governments tell us we don't have the authority because that's their job for regulating that, and we have to accept these things. And we're saying no. We're saying this is our land and our water. This is our bioregional community, and we do have the right to say no, and we are saying no. And we will shift the indignity of explanation onto them after we complete the process of saying no with a hyper supermajority consensus to this effect. And we will say no to all these things, but really saying no to all the horrible things we don't want is only 10% of this bioregional marine sanctuary proclamation and process. More than 90% of it is actually propositional rather than oppositional, and is positive rather than negative, and really has to do with the world in which we do wish to live. Every other marine sanctuary pretty much in the world ends at the coastline and only includes the salt waters and is done by the government. It's out over there. The people were not much involved. They are not much involved. They really don't know much what's going on, except there's a lot of more animals than usual in them. But this is quite different. This is where it's actually proclaimed by the people. It is then proclaimed documentation-wise, ceremonially celebrated, and then actually implemented by the people throughout their bioregional watershed community, and includes all of the waters, not only the salt waters, but also the tributary rivers, creeks, estuaries, aquifers, the waters under the ground, the waters that make up more than 90% of the trees, the waters that make up more than 2/3 of all the animals, including the human animals, and therefore really extends to all life. I think that one of the most important things for every community to do is to make a very beautiful map of their bioregional watershed basin, which would include many sub-watersheds, riversheds, lake sheds, creek sheds, but not to have the man-made features on it, that it's a very beautiful natural map, and to make sure that everyone in the community has seen that and understands that, and to give it a special name that is maybe an old name, possibly an indigenous name, or a new name that would invoke a sense of even sacredness to the area, or some kind of spirit that might have a story with it. And then to also put on this map the name Bioregional Marine Sanctuary under the name, and to add to it the same core vision statement that the Salish Sea Bioregional Marine Sanctuary and the Ambara-Wunan have adopted, which is this central agreement to restore natural animal populations throughout our bioregion to more than 50% of historic levels as soon as possible. Because once everyone agrees to that, they will, of course, being people of their word, want to fulfill that. And when they come together to figure out how can they do that, and they take all the steps necessary to do that, they will see that out of that will come all the other things that they want for themselves and their children and the generations come, which is pure water to drink, free for all, truly healthy, wholesome, organic, ethically produced food for all, and other things, and lots of ancient tree forest populations to walk through, and many other things like that, because what's good for the natural and free living animal populations is also good for the human populations. They're the same, but I think we've, through this colonization, divide and conquer, and mapping with arbitrary man-made lines that do not inspire people to feel connected to their natural environment and all living things, we've sort of been separated from that, and the time is through the thing we all have in common, which is water, and through our watershed to reconnect with this sense, and to be inspired to do that, even with all this culture of distraction that we have. So, really recognizing and remembering, our sense of bioregional and watershed community, because that's what we all have in common. And if we all take care of that, because water is life, we're 2/3 water, the trees are about 94% water. If we take care of the water throughout, from the trees and the mountaintops all the way to the bottoms of our lakes and rivers, and in our case the sea or even the ocean, then we are all living in a paradise again. And I think that's what we all would like to do. We just have kind of forgotten for the moment how to do that.